Hi, everybody. Had a couple of questions that came in, and we'll try and take a look at them. And we need more questions, of course. And thanks to anybody who does send them in. Really appreciate that. Here's one from Jennifer Butler in Pennsylvania. She says, does opening the hands help to soften the personality? And then she has a comment. I'm wondering because I opened my hands before engaging with someone, and I typically have a lot of reaction to, and the interaction seemed a lot easier, and I felt more at ease. It has never occurred to me to use this tool in this way before, and I usually use the life map. But when I asked for help, it came to mind. This is a very interesting question because if you can think in terms of the idea that the hands are two of the easiest chakras, even though they're small, yes, I agree, but they're very easy to open because we use them all the time. And if you continue, in almost anything you do, if you're sitting around and there's nobody around you, you can try and lift them up like this and try to get them to open more. Be cautious in relationship to what you call open, because normal intensity can open them on this level, which means your whole system becomes more intense because however your system is increased. And it's a subtle thing. And that can be helpful or not as helpful, because what ends up happening is your personality can be more intensified. So you're not trying to focus on the hands to get them to open, with great intensity. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you just try to open them in the very simple way that we've been using, and then let go. And don't try anymore. Just put them out there and soften yourself down the best you can. Then the hands can change states. Now, this is a real key statement from my perspective. That if they change states, you shift off the personality's natural tendency in the larger centers, because whatever is in the hands that come on, it affects the larger centers. Even if it just affects them a little bit, it can soften down your system. Soften it down at least until you have a particular view, and then you want to react more because it's part of your nature to do so, even if you don't even know you do it. This is a dilemma, because what we're talking about here is an understanding of your internal workings as a personality. And this is, oh my goodness, so difficult, so complex, complicated. Because what you believe you're doing in your personality may not be literally exactly what you are doing in relationship to your personality. You have a natural defensive system that automatically protects the personality from seeing how it functions. Now, isn't that interesting? From seeing how it functions. It means that it's not a negative thing. It means that you have strong insulation within you about allowing a glimpse of how you have been constructed. And you realize that your modes of construction have been from copying backgrounds, as those backgrounds, modes of construction, have been from copying backgrounds. And it goes back, often, some say it goes back about 7 generations, but my heavens, even if it goes back only 2 generations, it causes us a lot of difficulty in clear seeing. So with the hands, if they come on and you let them come on, and you're not trying to make them come on more, you're just holding them there, and they will begin to come on beyond the versioning or the control of the personality. This is what spiritual growth is all about and always has been. It means other centers come on beyond the personality's version of what must be there to be spiritual. And it's always been that way. This is being talked about, written about in various verbiages related to belief systems. There are exceptions. Some belief systems don't really talk about that too much. They talk about, and usually it means it's cultural, they talk about one version being more important or one culture being more important than another, this kind of thing. And this happens because that's the nature of how a personality is brought up. And nations have personality tendencies, and so do individuals. So in this particular mode of expression, Jennifer's hands came on into a higher state. Had they come on in the personality state as it was in the root gonad solar plexus and how it functions through the system, then she would not have been able to engage anything but more the way she did before. It's interesting. Now, I wish we could all try to understand that a little better, because our nature, the nature of how we grow, or how we consider what growth is related, tied deeply to the personality's view of how one sees oneself as a spiritual person. This is a dilemma. But once again, not talked about in our Western orientations. It's always very competitive. It just is that way. And in the Eastern orientations, it can also be competitive, but there's also room for no competition involved with that, or no relationship with personalization at a certain state. And that state is not a personality state. It's a state at which that higher state is really, and this one no one will like, where the personality is always looking to that higher state for the next step to occur. And we in the West don't like the idea of being out of control of whatever we come up with. We know it has to be true, mainly because we come up with it. Now that sounds a little degrading, but nonetheless, that's how we are. And we need that validation, and if we can't get it, then it's always somebody else's fault that we're not getting it. If only we could laugh right in the middle of that. But this is very hard on us because it hurts our pride. And that pride aspect of the personality is not only in the West, but it's in the East and in the Middle East. It's everywhere. It's part of a human engagement. But you have to stop everything you're thinking, every view of what you have to believe to make you feel good, to allow yourself to open to a point where you can actually see something beyond what you already believe has to be there, to be validated by what you already concur with. This is very difficult. And we will, all over the world, we will still be doing this for quite a long period of time, unless we begin to understand it differently and have it be okay that we're not always right. You see, every one of us grow through us. And the dilemma is that we can't see us very well. And that's an honest reality. But we see how we validate ourselves as being able to engage exactly this way or that way, and we know it's the only right. Other people do it differently, can't be right. Think about that in relationship to your personalities and engagements with others. It happens to be true that if the hand shifts or any other center shifts past your personalities, at this level, legitimate way of thinking that it has the only answer, when it shifts beyond that, you feel a state of vulnerability, and then you quickly recover. And then the invalidation of other thoughts other than yours becomes a reality. This is not a bad thing, good thing. This is just what happens to us. All of us are involved with this. And to be honest, no one wants to be the person who isn't right. They want to be the person that is right. That's a personality style engagement. That is not inner growth. And that's a terrible thing to say out loud because it makes it presumably more difficult to allow oneself to be okay with not necessarily, let's say, being perfectly validated. And we, in every situation, people need validation. So in this, Jennifer, yes, wholeheartedly, the hands coming on into a higher state, same as any other chakra, can allow you to shift out of the personality state that you are used to if it's okay with you. And in this case, I suspect there was a sense of vulnerability in you, just in case you couldn't handle something. Thank gosh for vulnerability. And that enabled you to be receptive to having a better engagement with that person. Because if you had insisted within yourself that you couldn't because of what you might consider they always act like and they're always the bad guy, and sometimes yes, sometimes no, then you would be opening that structure on a level that related to the personality, and you probably couldn't have handled that very well. So it's obvious that those hands had shifted and was probably affecting your solar plexus or opening a center within you, and it could be the brow center. It could be. I'm not saying it is. It could be the brow center that might have occurred. And then it softened. It was okay because it shifted and sent energy down to the solar plexus and root centers to soften it. Good for you. Great experience. Never throw that experience out. When people have such an experience, remembering it allows you to allow it to occur more often. Because personality is tricky. It doesn't want to have that kind of thing. It doesn't want to come up against what normally that person always does, and it's underlined, and that makes them bad and you good. You can use your own way of saying that. But in fact, sometimes that's how we do things. Okay? Then she goes on and says, also, the pump in meditation, while doing the pump in meditation, if I had this right, sometimes the head moves to the left or to the right instead of forward and back. Can you talk about what's going on when the direction changes? When you're doing the pump, what's occurring is you're moving energy, and here's a real good reason for doing it. The foundational centers of all personalities can be the root center and the gonad center. Often that is the case, but it stimulates the emotional center or the solar plexus. And the three of them literally hold tight to versions of how we all engage with the world. And we hold tight to the reins, and it's as if we're trying to get this horse, this personality, and we're trying to control how it must be because we said it has to be that way. Or we consider it worthy of having to be that way. Whatever comes out of our internal backgrounds. This happens all the time for all of us. And it's a wonderful metaphor if you're living back with Krishna and Arjuna, and then Arjuna had learned that war was not a good thing, didn't want to kill off any of his relatives. And Krishna says, but this is what you have to do because you're a warrior. But really what that really means is you have trained as a warrior. You will not be able to stop yourself being you. Because at the core of the essence of you, you are brought up to be that which engages with the world until you cannot do that. And he could still do that. But Krishna being a higher state being, he would help him to deal with that response and reaction within that was causing him the dilemma of him fighting against himself. This is quite difficult and quite a dilemma. But if you look at it from the question's point of view, we have personalities, and our engagement with these personalities is to reassert our relationship with how we think we need to be, and the only thing that we can see, because we cannot see ourselves in action very well. We can see every now and then, but we can see others through the auspices of our own creditations. What the heck does that mean? It means that we will see in others what we do, and that we don't want to see. It is a possibility that in that kind of seeing, you can break through into an understanding of you that takes the pressure of holding the root, gonad, and solar plexus perfectly in a protective position. However, it doesn't always work that way, because if we are not protecting, then we are nothing. Especially if we're brought up to protect, or brought up and we couldn't protect. Then the dialogue in expression, in life, becomes self-validating and really hard to change. This happens to all of us, whether it be a small thing, and sometimes it's not happening, and then it's happening again, and it's not happening, and it's happening again. This means that spiritual growth for us all is a very vulnerable thing. Yes, you can go and you can feel good things, and I've done this in so many ashrams, and just to see where the shift can be, as long as you're in the ashram and for a short period of time, because eventually you will have to act like you normally act in the ashram, and you'll have to beat up on the ashram or people who are in control of the ashram because they need to be in control of the ashram. It's just another version of living. If an alpha state can be gained in any situation, meaning if you can move off your relationship with how you have to see others or have to see yourself, then you can actually listen to things, know what's happening, and not place yourself in the position of needing to be more right. This is very difficult because we are so vulnerable in relationship to our needs, our wants, our desire to be in a place that is called spirituality or important or worthy, worthwhile as an individual, and we cannot see our own vulnerabilities, except we can see them in the negative. In other words, if I'm not feeling good, it's somebody else's fault, or this situation versus that situation. And there's all kinds of that goes on, one could say, but we're talking about shifting states here, as we talked about the hands. It can be the same way in the root, gonad, and the solar plexus, but if stimulated in a way that is reminiscent of a background, of your own background, in other words, you then go to the response that relates to how you were brought up, either too vulnerable and taught to be more valued, needed to be more valued, and no one lets you, or no one lets you in your early growth, or some form of response that you have to your early relationship with life. This is the way it happens for all of us. If you can really try to understand that part, it is exceedingly helpful. But you still feel it hurts because you're sensitive people. You still feel an engagement while with past reminiscences because you are focused on your personality. And that's how it is. In this pump movement, what you're trying to do is bring the energy away from your root gonad solar plexus. That's a dilemma. The same is true to the side, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. Whatever that is, I know that the real purpose of that, of both of those things, or circulation systems, that's because that's what they are, is to get your system to release a little bit so that higher state can fuse within it. And it attempts to do that. It takes you a little bit off how you're actually well defended. Here's the dilemma. Jen talks about it in meditation. When you're meditating, it would be a good time to practice these things. Why? Because it will train the personality to say that it's okay for you not to win all the time or lose all the time. These kinds of things are you helping you. You might say, well, I don't want to do that because I know I'm more right than anybody else. Well, that's a possibility, always. And that is an action that is available in the world, but it's more focused on the personality's version of being validated. And we all need that validation. Learning how to soften the validation is one helper is to do the pump or from side to side. You'll watch it. It'll sometimes come in roughly around the dowager's hump, back of the neck, and it will move one way and go into the brow. And the brow may even turn a little bit to the right like this or to the left. And it will bring you back. You don't have to do anything. You'll start to notice the energy, and that's energy coming into you in a place where it could be helpful to get you off of the intense defensive structure that is actually needed from time to time within the personality. It's not bad. That thing. It's, with all due respect, constructed through training. This makes it a little bit, more difficult because the vulnerability is akin to hurting. A person can hurt inside through anticipation. And I don't know if you're any different than anybody else. When you're engaging with life, and I'm talking about everybody here, not only Jen, talking about myself as well. It's really fine. It's part of being a human being. And your engagement, it always has that flexible cocoon that moves around in any kind of engagement with others, but especially those you care for. And that form right there is constructed by your past. And nobody likes to hear that. Definitely. I've talked to folks that say that can't be true because I have reached a certain high level and this is how it is. It's not real. They have reached a certain level, but their personality is still involved with the flavor of self-validation. That is, in a kind of a way, helping them not to go farther because basically we're all afraid of not being in charge and control of how we function in life. And so we anticipate how that would be. And you can understand that that would be not the flavor of the month, because you're not used to engaging in that way. But that meditating, doing the pump, and having the energy take you is a movement into an area of life that will help you, because the energy is taking you, helping you to understand that that is a different state. It's not you doing it. It's a different state. But here's another way to do it. Drop your head, move back, and you're in charge and you're in control. That's the early stage. Eventually, that flow is grooved into anything and everything, but this is kind of a little early for that. So if it happens to you when you're meditating, be happy. If it happens to you in your engagement with life, be happy. Because usually we like to be in charge, and our own assessments are what we have gone by. And that helps to validate us, but that becomes a very lonely life. When I'm saying lonely life, I mean an engagement without a higher state. But we can believe as a personality that we could be in a higher state, because that's being in charge and control. All of these are aspects of growth. They're not negative at all. Just see them. Say, okay, I saw that. And continue on. Try to do something slightly different, if you can. Remember, it's worth it. Thank you, Jen. That's all in the movement towards seeing better, understanding a little deeper than what is normally on the surface. Here's another question by Marine Flora in Ohio. And this is really something and a little bit about what we talked about, but it's not quite the same. And she says, I know you talk about this often, but I feel a little trapped by reactivity. Man, can that ever happen? Lately, my reaction comes so fast, I am well into it, or I just stay in it and can't even recognize that I am just in reaction and could stop or use the tools. Okay. Think about what she's saying. The worst part is that it is happening in the classroom with my students. Happens everywhere. Like I have lost my equilibrium or the little safety guards over my emotional buttons. Mm-hmm. And they've just disappeared, and boy, are the buttons getting pressed. Wow. So rather than a question, good for you, Maureen, some help about finding oneself in a struggle with reactivity. I'm going to treat it like a question and try to do the best I can with this. Look, we were just talking about opening these centers, right? Even the hands, the little hands, If you keep focusing on the hands and you're, I'm really going to get this hand to open. And personality. Maureen, this is not the case in your case. But I'm wondering what I can say. So give me a minute. Let me think about this. Many of us have used our intellect, emotional mind, to handle things that are difficult for us because we can't show emotion comfortably. It has to be dealt with like a deck of cards. Not in your case. I'm just giving broad expression here. And when we give it with a mental tone. We do this because, and it's not a bad thing, it's something that really helps us, because we're vulnerable. We have a lot of emotion. So we try to preserve and help that vulnerability not to show itself too much. Otherwise, we assume we'll lose control. And in a kind of a way, this begins to happen just a little bit. Why? Because you're growing. Levels of emotion can be stiffened in certain areas, and you use that area all the time. It preserves you from using the underpinning of emotion. So, and life can deal you those things that make you do that. If you have been hurt in life, and there's lots of us have been hurt in life in relationship to people that we care for, or people that should care for us. and they do it in such a way that it hurts us. Then what we do is we shift out of the hurt the best we can into a place where it's kind of emotional, mental. And then as you grow, that, I won't call it stiff, let's say continued use begins to leak into the whole of the emotional construct, because they're not separate. They're just used separately. Everyone, just think about this the best you possibly can. I say this with so much respect to everybody. It's a dilemma. It makes us feel very vulnerable inside. And anger is one of the stalwarts that we have to handle that. It's usually because, in a kind of strange way, we've opened up differently than how we were opened before. This is something that has occurred in many people who have grown truly internally, and it's been difficult to handle, honestly. So, one thing that might help is when you're meditating, try to do the pump. Start it, but don't. How can I say this? If you bring your head down, pull back on the back of your neck, as if you don't care if the head comes up, and the head will start to come up, and then let it go again, and you'll start to notice that the energy that is in you will start helping you to do it. And you probably have experienced this a little bit. Do that. And then slowly, and it's going to catch at your neck like crazy. Slowly let your head come down. Just, I would say about this much. You don't have to do it like a lot of people do it like this in some places. Fine. But if you do it a little bit, the energy will catch quicker. And it will catch roughly at the Dowager's hump and about 3 or 4 inches above it. And it's trying to help that flow to come up and circulate, to get it out of the need to be at a stalwart that wasn't ever used very much, because mentally you didn't want to act out that way because it didn't make any sense to you. And I totally agree. But there's a fusion that goes on inside of that emotional construct. And that fusion, happens a little slower than we would all like it to. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. You might notice that that's true. If this is happening, it'll come out of nowhere. What I try to do with it, and I have tried to do with it, it's still current, I vocalize to myself. Try to slow it down. Come on, around. Take it easy, easy now, just never mind. Back up. And sometimes it just comes out. And then, when it comes out, I try to soften it down by saying, ouch, sorry about that. And sometimes I'll forget to say that. Throughout my life, I've tried to deal with that one. And because that is something that all of us are involved with. If you think you're not, I'm going to say it straight. You're deluded. You use your emotion for everything, because that's like a force. It's just energy. And you use it to engage with life relative to how you need to be supported in your version of your needs and values around how important you need to be to make you feel okay. How valued you need to be, I'll say it that way better, need to be okay. It's because you haven't been given that space to be okay. And most of us have run that gauntlet. Now, in talking to yourself, be kind, be respectful, even to this when you see that that's there. Change the subject on yourself somehow. On yourself. That's what you're really trying to do. You're trying to loosen the need to act out in a way that needs to be acted out to get you to feel good. And in our past, we've all had experiences that have been uncomfortable, and we've used the only way we had to soften down our vulnerabilities or our pain. I would suggest that might be a good thing to do. At least it seems to work for me. I won't say it's perfect, because sometimes you won't want it to be that way. There's another thing I've done as well. These are just words that I use. If I think I'm out of character doing this, I will say something like, if you're not from the highest and best, get out of here. I'm not interested. And it may be something that comes from another life. It could be something that comes from outside of you. It could be something that is just has happened or is happening that you can't do anything about. Our tendency is to hang on to these things. So I say, if you're not from the highest and best, get out of here. And that really includes thoughts and versions of engaging that is a little hard for you to deal with. It's an overall stream. Because in the real world of energy, there are tremendous levels of energy at every single emotional layer that's possible. And people use it, countries use it, everyone seems to use it much more than they did before, but maybe they did before, I just didn't notice. And they use it for their own purposes. If you are caught in that layer, and that layer is for someone else's purpose, it will have an effect on you. And that effect will be, you don't want to be like that. So, try that one. See if that one works. I'll see if I said anything else here. Well, I did say that the balancing could be helpful, but, it looks kind of funny doing like this when you're in a class. I think I'm going to do the airplane. It's not gonna go, especially if you're talking to people who are a little older. But you can do it. Try to do it in your mind. Once again, if you can open the hands when you're doing it, and if they can get into a higher state, it will calm you down for sure. Because that's what others have done, and it seems to be helpful. Usually when you're uptight, it's hard to do anything but focusing with uptightness on the hands. But I don't have a problem with asking a higher state to help me, whatever your version of that is. And because I think growing is honestly linking up with a higher state beyond your version, my version of what I think a higher state is. If you can put that one together, and I know you can, use old beliefs, or make up something yourself so that you can talk to it. The person that you need to talk to is other aspects within you too, because you have already engaged in a way that relates to trying to let things be more gentle and respectful of yourself. That's three things. When you're doing the balancing or the pump, remember the balancing, you turn the hands over. You're trying to get the energy to move from the normal way that you already have in the past dealt with things or been unable to deal with things, same as all of us, to move up and cycle, go around you. So you're moving up and around the best you possibly can. I can only say I've had these things occur, and I've tried to do whatever I've told you to do, and it seemed to help. It's not perfect. One of them is better give me a hand with this. I'm not doing well with this one. But I have an expectation that that link is in everybody. Even when you can't perceive it. I don't have a problem with that. Others may have a problem with that. By the way, for everyone, anger, old frustrations, because we all have old frustrations, emotional, mental defenses, they begin to seep through into lower emotional levels because all of this needs to come together as one so that you can see it better and also begin not to use it in the same old places that we're holding things from. This is really not an easy engagement with an understanding of us. It's not a fault. It's not a flaw. It's a response to being under pressure or hurting. I truly, truly, truly wish you well. You will gain access to a different equilibrium spot because you're concerned about that, so that's why I'm saying it. And it will be okay and easier to understand, and it will help you to see better and understand what's going on. Right now, it's in a flush. And hopefully, by the time I talk about this, it'll be all gone. Or maybe soon. I wish you well, Maureen. I hope you gain something from what I'm talking about. One thing's for sure. Everyone in their own way goes through something like this in a journey towards being okay with themselves and understanding themselves better than they could before. Because we're all of these things. It's when people start to think that they're not, that they run into trouble. And you are recognizing that you are definitely part of that. And most of us have experienced, well, some of us have experienced things like this. I do wish you well with this. And happy growing. Now we're just going to meditate, and Marlene's going to put some music on, and I'll bring you out of it at the end. Please take care of yourselves, everybody. And really appreciate more questions, if you don't mind. Take care.
रत्नैः कल्पितमासनं हिमजलैः स्नानं च दिव्याम्बरम् नानारत्नविभूषितं मृगमदा मोदाङ्कितं चन्दनम् जाति चंपक बिल्व पत्र रचितम् पुष्पं च धूपं तथा दीपं देवदयानिधे पशुपते हृत्कल्पितं गृह्यताम् सौवर्णेन नवरत्नखण्डरचिते पात्रे घृतं पायसम् भक्ष्यं पञ्चविधं पयोदधियुतं रम्भाफलं पानकम् शाकानामयतं जलं रुचिकरम् कर्पूरखण्डोज्ज्वलम् ताम्बूलं मनसा मया विरचितं भक्त्या प्रभो स्वीकुरु छत्रं चामरयोर्युगं व्यजनकं चादर्शकं निर्मलम् वीणा भैरिमृदङ्गकोहलकला गीतं च नृत्यं तथा साष्टाङ्गं प्रणतिः स्तुतिर्बहुविधा एतत्समस्तं मया संकल्पेन समर्पितं तव विभो पूजां ग्रहाण प्रभो आत्मा त्वं गिरिजामते सहचराः प्राणाः शरीरं ग्रहम् पूजा ते विषयोपभोगरचना निद्रा समाधिस्थितिः सञ्चारः पदयोः प्रदक्षिणविधि स्तोत्राणि सर्वा गिरो यत् कर्म करोमि तत् अखिलम् शम्भो तवाराधनम् करचरणकृतं वा कायजं कर्मजं वा श्रवणनयनजं वा मानसं वापराधम् विहितमविहितं वा सर्वमेतच्छमस्व जय जय करुणाब्धे श्री महादेव शम्भो न तातो न माता न बन्धुर्न दाता न पुत्रो न पुत्री न भृत्यो न भर्ता न जाया न वेद्या न वृत्तिर्ममैव गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि भवाब्धावपारे महादुःखभीरो प्रपात प्रकामी प्रलोभी प्रमत्ता कुसंसारपाश प्रबद्धः सदाहं गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि न जानामि दानं न च ध्यानयोगम् न जानामि तन्त्रं न च स्तोत्रमन्त्रम् न जानामि पूजां न च न्यासयोगम् गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि न जानामि पुण्यं न जानामि तीर्थम् न जानामि मुक्तिं लयं वा कदाचित् न जानामि भक्तिं व्रतं वापि माता गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानि कुकर्मी कुसङ्गी कुबुद्धि कुदास कुलाचारहीन कदाचारलीन कुदृष्टि कुवाक्य प्रवन्द सदाहम् गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी प्रजेशं रमेशं महेशं सुरेशं दिनेशं निशीथेश्वरं वा कदाचित् न जानामि चान्यत् सदाहं शरण्ये गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी विवादे विषादे प्रमादे प्रवासे जले चानले पर्वते शत्रुमध्ये अरण्ये शरण्ये सदा मां प्रपाहि गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी अनाथो दरिद्रो जरारोगयुक्तो महाक्षीणदीन सदा जाड्यवक्त्रा विपत्तौ प्रविष्ट प्रणष्ट सदाहम् गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका भवानी गतिस्त्वं गतिस्त्वं त्वमेका
शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहम् अद्वैतमानन्द रूपं अरूपम् अद्वैतमानन्द रूपं अरूपम् ब्रह्मोऽहं ब्रह्मोऽहं ब्रह्मस्वरूपोऽहं ब्रह्मोऽहं ब्रह्मोऽहं ब्रह्मस्वरूपोऽहं चिदोऽहं चिदोऽहं सच्चिदानन्दोऽहं चिदोऽहं चिदोऽहं सच्चिदानन्दोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं नित्योऽहं शुद्धोऽहं बुद्धोऽहं मुक्तोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं शिवस्वरूपोऽहं चेत्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्तपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभमोहो मदोर्नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धो न मित्रं गुरो नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पः सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न च सङ्गतं नैव मुक्तिर्न मेया चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं 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 शिवोऽहम्
ब्रह्ममुरारिसुरार्चितलिङ्गम् निर्मलभासितशोभितलिङ्गम् जन्मज दुःखविनाशकलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् देवमुनि प्रवरार्चितलिङ्गम् कामदहन करुणाकरलिङ्गम् रावणदर्पविनाशनलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् सर्वसुगन्धिसुलेपितलिङ्गम् बुद्धिविवर्धनकारणलिङ्गम् सिद्धसुरासुरवन्दितलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् कनकमहामणिभूषितलिङ्गम् फणिपतिवेष्टितशोभितलिङ्गम् दक्षसुयज्ञविनाशकलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् कुङ्कुमचन्दनलेपितलिङ्गम् पङ्कजहारसुशोभितलिङ्गम् सञ्चित पाप विनाशकलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् देवगणार्चितसेवितलिङ्गम् भावैर्भक्तिभिरेव च लिङ्गम् दिनकरकोटिप्रभाकरलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् अष्टदलोपरिवेष्टितलिङ्गम् सर्वसमोद्भवकारणलिङ्गम् अष्टदरिद्रविनाशकलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् सुरगुरुसुरवरपूजितलिङ्गम् सुरवनपुष्पसदार्चितलिङ्गम् परमपदं परमात्मकलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम् तत्प्रणमामि सदा शिवलिङ्गम्
No, just begin to do the balancing and grounding on your own. And have a good evening, everybody.